Aloha! I've noticed a few friends and other people that I follow have posted recently about anxiety and how belief systems can cause anxiety. And I'm wondering about the reverse. What if anxiety can create belief systems? And this is coming from an experiment that was done on many patients and many non-humans where electrical diodes were placed directly on people and animals' brains so that electrical pulses could be sent into specific parts of the brain and directly affect that person or animal's behavior. There's an experiment in particular that I would like to point out to use in my contemplation. There was this gentleman, a mental patient, who had some diodes attached to his brain. And one diode in particular, whenever it was remotely stimulated by the scientists or researchers, the gentleman would sharply look to the left. And this was a very consistent behavior with this specific diode on a specific part of his brain. Now, of course, the long-term benefit of these experiments were that we learned which parts of the brain controlled which human behaviors. And the most unfortunate part of this experiment, in my opinion, is that this was completely involuntary by the gentleman. He had no idea that this was going on. And as the experiments continued, even though he pleaded to be released from this experiment, they did not. Not going to continue describing what happened to this poor gentleman. But in essence, they destroyed his brain. Well, whenever they would go up to this gentleman and ask him why he would turn to the left after they would remotely stimulate the brain through the diode, he would say something like, "Oh, I was looking for my slippers," or, "Oh, I thought I dropped something and it fell over there," or, "I heard a noise over there." It was a stimulus and response, and his brain had no concept that those diodes that the researchers had installed on his head were the direct cause of this action. He did not realize that this movement, this behavior, was actually involuntary. So the question that I pose is whether all anxiety is strictly based in belief systems, because a belief system, whether or not it be a program instilled when someone was a child and thus potentially be involuntary, let's not go into that. But if it's a belief system, then that means that the anxiety is voluntary, because we can voluntarily change our belief systems. But that gentleman was not able to voluntarily push the button that the researchers were forcing him to look to the left. So let's say instead of forcing him to look to the left, the pressing of this button caused anxiety. So the anxiety in this case would be involuntary. And instead of coming up with an excuse like, "Oh, I was looking for my slippers," "Oh, I dropped something," "Oh, I thought I heard something," the feeling of anxiety, the brain, the mind would try to fill the gap as to why am I feeling this anxiety and come up with an excuse, such as a belief system. I believed I was looking for my slippers. I believed I was hearing a sound over there. I believed I dropped something. So it's just a question that I was contemplating. Because if the mind is like an antenna, just picking up on all of these electromagnetic frequencies pulsing through the universe, science and technology has really expanded our awareness and understanding of the fields that are emanating from the sun, the earth itself, the moon, our Wi-Fi devices, this cell phone that I'm currently recording this video on. There are electromagnetic waves emanating from the electrical wires running throughout my house. The cell phone towers, I mentioned the cell phone already. Wi-Fi, maybe I repeated that too. Microwaves, UV waves, the stars, everything is emanating an electromagnetic pulse. And this new age concept of, oh, you've just got to vibrate at the frequency that you want. Just one frequency? Is it really that simple? Just one. Just out vibrate every single frequency in the whole universe so that you are completely negating any possible frequency wave that might be causing anxiety. Maybe the belief system comes after the anxiety. Maybe the anxiety does come after the belief system. What I think is probably a little bit of both. And the more things like heavy metals or MSG, which is one of the most potent neurotoxins, or pathogens, as many viruses go to bathroom and create neurotoxins with their waste. Depending on what's going on inside the body, there might be a greater susceptibility to neurological stress. And that neurological stress, I'm sure, causes anxiety. And chronic anxiety is going to lead to negative belief systems. Because why wouldn't feeling bad in a seamless world, why wouldn't feeling bad result in quote unquote bad thoughts and thus bad belief systems? So those are my thoughts for this evening. And if I had to leave it on a positive note, it would be an allusion to the saying that my body is my temple. And I want my temple to be clean. And what that means to me is to clean out the heavy metals and the neurotoxins and the plastic and the nanotechnology and the pesticides, insecticides, fertilizers, irradiated, processed, mutilated foods. That is what needs to be cleaned. If that's cleaned, then my thoughts, I have much greater ability at keeping my thoughts and thus my frequency clean. So thanks for listening. Mahalo.